Welcome to Learning with Homework Elves. Today, we'll be looking at basic concepts in economics in the areas of demand, supply, and elasticity. We'll be looking at how the market forces come together, how quantity demanded is determined, how quantity supplied is determined, the interaction between supply and demand, leading to an equilibrium production and consumption level at a price, as well as how supply and demand changes with changes in factors. So what is demand? Demand refers to the quantity of goods and services that consumers are willing and able to buy at various prices at a given time. The law of demand states that there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. This means the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, and vice versa. There is both individual demand as well as market demand. Individual demand shows the quantity demanded by an individual at various prices. Market demand sums up the individual demands. It sums up the quantity demanded of all consumers at various prices. Let us now look at what affects demand. One factor is related goods. There are three types of related goods: substitute goods, complementary goods, as well as goods arising from derived demand. Substitute goods are such that when the price increases for one, this leads to an increase in demand for the other, all else being equal. For instance, the price increase of noodles leads to an increase in consumption of rice instead. Complementary goods are goods that are consumed together, such as cars and petrol, coffee and milk. Complementary goods are such that the increase in price of one leads to a decrease in demand for the other, all else being equal. For instance, increases in car prices leads to reduction in petrol consumed. Derived demand is where the demand for a factor of production or intermediate good is dependent on the demand for another. For instance, an increase in the demand for cars leads to an increase in demand for steel, glass, and rubber. Moving on to income. An increase in income does not automatically increase consumption of a good. It depends on whether it is a normal good or an inferior good. Examples of normal goods are whole wheat and organic pasta noodles. An example of inferior goods are canned soups and vegetables. When income goes up, this resists purchasing power and demand for normal goods will increase. At the same time, demand for inferior goods will decrease, all else being equal. Taste and preference is another factor. This can be influenced by trends, advertisements, as well as culture. Where a consumer's preference switches in favor of a product, demand for the product will increase and vice versa, all else being equal. Expectations in the form of economic and political outlook, or in the form of introduction of new products, can also affect demand. For instance, if a new model of tablet is expected to be launched very shortly, demand for the existing models will decrease. Seasonal trends also affect demand. For instance, the Christmas season will drive up demand for alcohol. Let us look at the difference between changes in demand and changes in quantity demanded. With changes in price, this changes the quantity demanded. It is a movement along the demand curve. The demand curve can, however, also shift from changes in the underlying factors of demand. For instance, if income level increases, the demand curve shifts to the right, from DD1 to DD2 for a normal good. This means that at each price, the quantity demanded has increased. We will continue with the topic of supply in Part 2. For personalized help on your homework, sign up today at homeworkelves.strikingly.com. Thank you for your attention.